So you're thinking about moving to Pensacola, Florida. In this video, I will share 15 things you need to know about living in Pensacola, including the cost of living, weather, the areas, and much more. And stay tuned to the end where I will share 2 local insider secrets. If you're new to the channel and want to learn all about living in Pensacola, Florida, just hit that subscribe and notification button so you'll be the first to know about the Pensacola market. I get emails, calls, and texts all the time from people just like you looking to move to Pensacola and love it. Whether you're moving in 7 days or 7 days, shoot me a text, email, or call, all in the description below. So I'm going to start off by giving you a map tour of Pensacola, and we'll just kind of start and zoom out. So Pensacola right here is in the Florida Panhandle, or also Northwest Florida, or also known as the Emerald Coast of Florida. And it's about 3.5 hours from New Orleans, about 1 hour from Mobile, Alabama. From Atlanta, it's about 6 hours. And then from Jacksonville, about 5 to 6 hours. And then also from Orlando, it's about 5 hours. So let's zoom in and kind of check out here. So the center, being that it's an old city, old port city, the center of downtown is right in here. And the main strip, or the main road, old road that goes right through there, is Palafox Street. And then from there, again, we have downtown right here. Excuse me. And then from there, we have East Hill, just up the hill, a little bit east. And then from there, we have what we call Northeast Pensacola, which is kind of centered on the airport, a lot of the shopping, Cordova Mall, Target, Sam's Club, a lot of the shops. And then running through there is 9th Avenue and Davis Highway. And then so connecting through from downtown Pensacola to the interstate, I-10, we have 110. So that generally doesn't have too much traffic on it. It's a pretty straight shot of, exits running each way. So it doesn't get too bad. We don't have too bad of traffic here, if you've never visited. So then from there, kind of beyond Northeast, a little bit north, we have the Ferry Pass area. And that area is mostly associated with the University of West Florida. And then we have the Ensley area, which is right here. And then beyond Ensley, we have Beulah, which is kind of the northwest portion. And then we have the state line. And then up beyond that, further northwest, we have Cantonment in the Gonzales area. And then if you get further and further out, still in Escambia County, which is our main county here, you have Molino, Morrells, and Chamaquala, and those are really the areas around there. And then let's go a little bit west of Pensacola, of downtown, and we'll show you the area of Bellevue, Softly Field here, Myrtle Grove, West Pensacola, and these areas are more closely associated with NAS Pensacola, the naval base there, Naval Air Station, and then out west we have the Alabama state line and the Perdido Key area, and then out to Orange Beach, Alabama, and then Perdido is right next to Perdido Key. And then from here, again from downtown, we move west. We have Warrenton, NAS Pensacola right here. And then so let's zoom out. So going from downtown to get to Pensacola Beach, you would drive across the 3-mile bridge here and go into Gulf Breeze. This area is Gulf Breeze, which goes from Gulf Breeze basically down to this area of Midway. After Midway, you have Navarre, and then Tiger Point is kind of the halfway point between Midway and Gulf Breeze. And then out on the beach, you obviously have Pensacola Beach, and kind of the National Seashore connects, is a road to where there's no buildings and no condos. It's kind of reserved for just beaches and turtle and bird habitat, and that connects over to Navarre Beach. And then from Navarre, right here, which is in Santa Rosa County, and so is Gulf Breeze. And then from Navarre, excuse me, we go up, and north of there is Milton. Milton, again, is an older town associated with the Blackwater River right here. Has a little downtown area. And then Milton is pretty big when it comes to land. And then just west of there, we have the well-known area of Pace. And Pace is, again, very close to the University of West Florida and has a lot of great neighborhoods. And that pretty much covers most of the areas. We talked a little about Chumuckla here. This is mostly rural. Once we get really Pace and Milton, once we get a little bit outside of those, it's just a very rural area. And then we have Allentown, Spring Hill, and then, further areas. So that really is the map tour of the area. Okay, let's talk about the beaches from west, being the Fort Morgan, Gulf Highlands, and then Gulf Shores. Those are still in Alabama. And then also Orange Beach, Alabama, which is right on the border. And so right when we cross into the Floribama, and then that's the borderline. There's a popular bar and restaurant right there that, borders on both sides. And then from there, we have the Perdido Key, which is in Florida, Fort McRae. And then across there, from downtown, you'd have to go all around. But from right across there, you have Fort Pickens, Landing Beach. So Pensacola Beach, well known. And then, so moving east from Pensacola Beach, the next well-known kind of beach here is Navarre Beach. And just zoom in a hair here. Went a little bit too far. So Navarre Beach right here, and you see the fishing pier. And then this is all, developed throughout here. And then as you go further down, this is all part of Eglin, the Air Force Base, the Joint Base, the military base. And then once we get down there, the next beach is Fort Walton, also known as Okaloosa Island, Fort Walton Beach. And then beyond that, right there, you get into Destin. And a lot of beaches, well-known beaches here, Henderson Beach State Park, James Lee Beach. And then beyond that, you're into Miramar Beach. So those are really all the beaches, really within an hour of Pensacola. And then as you go further down, you get into Seaside, 30A, Seacrest, Rosemary Beach. So let's talk a little bit about the weather. So starting the year, the January and February, you have highs really in the 60s, lows typically in the 40s, but we certainly can hit, temperatures much colder. Certainly a couple times a year can hit 20s and 30s, but it's not too common. Normally only just a handful or a couple of days a year. My favorite months are really around, March and April. That's just the time when it's starting to get nice and warm to be outside, highs in the 75, 80 range, but again, not too hot with still lows in the 50s and 60s. And then it starts to really just get hot in really May, June, July, August, very warm, certainly highs in the high 80s and 90s typically, with lows in the 70s typically. We get a lot of rain throughout that time, July and August. And then after that is really July, August, September, October, we move into hurricane season. It does cool off a little bit, but not too much. A lot of rain, and those are the biggest risk because of water temperatures rising of hurricanes. And then once we get into November, we normally get past hurricanes. And from there, we have highs back into, the 70s, and then December, really highs in the 70s. And again, lows typically in the 40s or so. We can certainly, get colder. And then, so you do definitely have, a feel of seasons here, which is different than a lot of parts of Florida, certainly South Florida, where you're certainly going to use your heat. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but certainly, you'll be wearing jackets, long sleeves, sweatshirts, and you'll have different clothes, so you can wear seasonal clothing. And to hurricanes, this is a question I certainly get a lot. Really, how bad are the hurricanes? or, what is it like for people that haven't been through many hurricanes. So hurricane season is typically really from September, October. Those are the prime months, but it can start earlier in July and, tropical storms and things like that. And the easiest quick answer I tell people is that since I've been living here in 5 years, there's only been really one major hurricane that impacted the Pensacola area. Now, certainly hurricanes have impacted and caused devastating damage in the surrounding areas, but Pensacola really has only been impacted by one major hurricane since I've lived here. And then if you go back 17, 18 years, really only majorly impacted by two hurricanes. And those would be, the last major one was in September of 2020. Certainly had a lot of impact, a lot of flooding, power outages. There was approximately $7 billion of damage caused that. That was Hurricane Sally. And then, it certainly impacted people, thousands and thousands of homes. I personally was without power for about a week, 5 days, 6 days. And there's certainly people in the area that were without power up to 2 weeks. So certainly had a big impact. And then before that, this was the time I didn't live here. Hurricane Ivan was a huge hurricane, not just for the Pensacola area, but for the entire kind of Panhandle area that had a lot of effects. So that was in 2004, and it caused $20 billion damage, and that was a Category 5 hurricane. And if you take that in today's number, it was it would be $37 billion damage. So quite a big different impact, but really those are the two major hurricanes, and we certainly have dealt with other hurricanes passing through and the risk and the unpredictability of other tropical storms and things like that. But I would just say those were the two major impacts for the last time, and then for the last 5 years, I've only been really impacted majorly by one hurricane. Let's talk about the top employers in the area, and the number one based on who has the most employees is Navy Federal Credit Union. They have a large campus here, and it's up in the northwest part of town, Beulah area, 9 Mile kind of area near Cantonment. And, they employ well over 3,000 people. The second largest employer is Baptist Hospital, where they have several campuses throughout the area, and they're building a brand new large campus right off of Interstate 10. They also have campus in Gulf Breeze and a few other areas. And the third largest employer is Sacred Heart Hospital, mostly centered around the Cordova, the Mall area, northeast Pensacola. And then the fourth largest employer is Pensacola State College, and they have several campuses throughout the area, being West Pensacola, Northeast, Milton, and Gulf Breeze. And next up is the military. You certainly can't go around Pensacola or mention Pensacola without, referencing the military, primarily the Navy, the birthplace of naval aviation. And so certainly we have NAS Pensacola, which is the largest presence of on the west end of Pensacola, and then we also have NAS Whiting Field, which is in the Milton area, which is certainly a training grounds for pilots coming through Pensacola and learning to fly and then moving on other places. And then we also have a helicopter field right there in Pace. So we have a strong military presence, and then obviously we have a lot of jobs and positions related to that, and a lot of support, whether you're actually government workers, military active duty, or civilian contractors. And then you have to mention, the Navy Blue Angels, which are headquartered here, and they're just awesome to see buzzing across town or the beach. And next up, let's talk about the events. We have a lot of events in the area, the biggest being the Summer Blue Angel Week, which is basically a whole week dedicated to the Blue Angels and the air show. And it's out on the beach, and attracts several 100,000 people, and it is the biggest tourist event when it comes to people and revenue for the area. In downtown Pensacola, there's a lot of events centered around. We have gallery nights, which typically happen on Fridays in the summer, once a month. Seafood festivals, where there's quite a bit of different ones. It seems like one branch of that once every month throughout the summer. Another big signature event is the Christmas parade, obviously in December, and then the Mardi Gras parade, and then all the parades associated with that in mostly February timeframe. And there's quite a few other events, but those are the big signature events, and you can check out more if you're interested in them. And as far as events, my first insider tip is certainly everyone knows around here about it, the Blue Angel Week and how busy it is and what's going on. But honestly, the best time, in my opinion, to see the Blue Angels and not have to deal with all the craziness is the November Blue Angels homecoming show, because the water is still nice and warm enough to swim in. You don't fight the crowds, and then you pretty much have the whole Blue Angels show, and a lot of the beach, depending where you go, is not, you're not going to be arm to arm with everyone like in the beginning of the summer. So that's my tip about if you're really all about the Blue Angels, whether you actually live here or not, go check them out for the November homecoming show, because that's really the best time. Sports, and mostly by these I'm going to mean spectator sports, not participant sports. So we have the Blue Wahoos, which is a minor league baseball team, and that has an awesome stadium right on the waterfront near downtown Pensacola. And then also downtown in the Bay Center, we have the Pensacola Ice Flyers, which is a minor league hockey team. And both of those places, it's a great place. The tickets are pretty affordable, and it's a great place to watch good action when it comes to live sports. And then from there, watching live sports, we have University of West Florida, which has Division I in many sports, probably all of them, and good place to watch. They've had good football and quite a few other sports. And then certainly our high schools areas have quite a bit of sports when it comes to good sports in the area, certainly football and baseball, among other sports. Let's talk about driving, what it's like, the traffic and driving and getting around the area. So we obviously have what I showed you on the map. We have the main drag of Interstate 10, that runs east and west, and that runs kind of cuts through the top portion of Pensacola. And then we have I-110 that runs from I-10 and runs down north and south. So traffic is really not too bad in comparison of larger cities. And by comparison, I mean, I've lived in the Washington, D.C. area, lived in the Seattle area, I've spent a lot of time in the LA area. So there's certainly no comparison, and also in New York, no comparison to the traffic of there, because we just don't have the population. There's very few rush hour traffic. There's really no toll roads to avoid traffic or anything like that. We certainly do have toll bridges. So going to Pensacola, or Pensacola Beach, you're pretty much always going to cross over, from Pensacola to Pensacola Beach, you're going to cross over the 3 Mile Bridge, which is a free bridge, and then no tolls. And then you're going to cross over to the 1 Mile Bridge, the Bob Sykes Bridge, which is typically $1. And you certainly, if you're new to the area, you certainly want to get a Sun Pass, because that's going to help you save convenience. And then if you're coming from like Milton, headed out to the beaches or Gulf Breeze area, you're going to use the Garcon Point Bridge, which has tolls, around a couple dollars, $2, $3, $4, something like that. So that's really about the traffic. Most of our traffic and most of our slowdowns obviously are tied around accidents and a lot of intersections. And next up, let's talk about the seafood. So seafood markets, and obviously, the opportunity to catch. So one thing being living in near the Gulf and having a lot of seafood markets, having access to fresh seafood, being able to go out and catch and go fishing and get your own stuff. So that's really, a cool thing about that. So for seafood markets, the most well-known and the biggest, certainly if you've never been there, you need to experience that Joe Patty's. Typically can have 50 to several hundred people in there, and it's just quite an experience, and has been here forever and is just a staple to the Pensacola community. I also like Maria Seafood in East Hill. It's has a lot of options, and it doesn't have all the crowds and all the tourism of seafood markets. And then if you're looking for a seafood market, maybe out in Milton or up near the Pace area, Rolo's Seafood is a good option. And then my next insider tip is when it comes to seafood, we talk about a lot of restaurants, and Peg Legs out on Pensacola Beach is me and my wife's favorite seafood place. And the trick here is, typically in the summer, all summer long, there's almost every time you go, there's a wait between 1 and 2 hours. But if you actually, when you call and you ask them, how long is the wait, they don't tell you about this, but in almost every case, when there is a long wait, you could actually go downstairs into the basement and at the bottom level on the deck, and see where the boats come in. And they actually have first come, first serve seating, and it's almost always easy to get seated right in. Now, they don't have the full menu, but they still have all the signature items. And it's a good way, if there's a 2-hour wait, to just go down and sit right away. Next up is the cost of living. So the average home price in Escambia County is about $350,000, and then Santa Rosa County is about $400,000. And so if you combine those, the average home price is about $380,000. And then I'm going to talk about my personal case and actually what I give you real numbers of what I spend for utilities. So utilities are the biggest, not actually in the summer here, but in the winter. Certainly turn on the heat. So my average bill in the winter is probably around $350, and I'm talking about just the months of really December and January. $350, $380. Certainly can get an electric bill that high. In the summer, I'm typically going to be around $250 to $280, and in the spring, kind of just through late February through kind of when the heat's turning off through kind of May. Average bill is probably going to be around $125 to $150. So I live in Gulf Breeze, and my water bill and sewers combined, and my average bill there is about $75 per year. Doesn't change too much. And then my home internet, I just have kind of the middle level internet, and I pay $40 a month with Mediacom. Next up, let's talk about the airports. And the main airport, obviously in Pensacola, is the Pensacola Airport. It is a pretty small airport. The benefit is it's very easy to get parking and drop in, whether you're picking somebody up. It's just not a very large airport, not too many people, not too busy. And then also nearby we have the airport in Fort Walton Beach, and then an hour away in Mobile, there's another smaller airport. So one challenge of being in the area is, so the closest big airport is in New Orleans, which a major hub, and so that's about 3.5 hours away. And then you certainly have other options, but most of the other Florida airports are quite a bit further. You know, you have Panama City, Tallahassee, and things like that. Panama City is about 2.5 hours away, 2 to 2.5 hours to get to the airport, and then certainly Tallahassee and then other parts of Florida are further. About the Florida Panhandle, I had mentioned this a little bit earlier, on the map tour, giving you a tour of the Destin, but I'll just give you a little overview. So from Pensacola, well-known Destin is a little over an hour away. Destin, Fort Walton Beach, right in there. From Pensacola, from downtown Pensacola to Navarre, it's about 30 to 40 minutes. And then from downtown Pensacola over to Mobile, again, is 1 hour, and it's about 2.5 hours to Panama City. And to get to other parts, major parts of Florida, we're about 5 hours from Orlando. To get to, South Florida, Pensacola is quite a way, so it's about a 10-hour drive to get down to, Fort Lauderdale or the Miami area. So let's talk a little bit about the schools, and I'm going to talk mostly about the public schools, and I'll mention, the colleges and the larger colleges and universities in the area. So the top-rated public schools in the area are in Gulf Breeze. Santa Rosa overall has, in almost every case, has higher-rated schools than Escambia. Escambia is in the Pensacola area. The largest community college in the area, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, is Pensacola State College, which has multiple campuses in the area and has, very reasonable rates for in-state tuition. And then the largest college in our area is the University of West Florida, which also has a hospital associated with it. And then finally, let's talk about the parks. One of the most well-known parks is Bayview Park, which is, on the water, kind of in the East Hill area, has a lot of options when it comes to dog parks and paddleboarding and rentals and tennis and disc golf, and a lot of the parks do have that in the area. Also, I live close. My favorite park is Shoreline Park. That's close where I live. When it comes to tennis, basketball courts, they have a community center and just a lot of activities. And they also have a boat ramp and dog beach and separate dog parks, which, is awesome for me because I have a couple dogs. And it's awesome to just, ride the golf cart over there and take the dogs down to the dog beach, go swimming. And then certainly Fort Pickens is a well-known park in the area. That is a national park, controlled by the U.S. government and has a great history when it comes to like the Civil War era. And obviously it has a cost, but it also doesn't have many crowds, and it's a great place to go fishing or sit out on the beach and not really be around anyone. And then finally, we have the National Seashore, which is the protected seashore, really kind of between Pensacola Beach and Navarre Beach. And that's an awesome place because it's, again, protected. There's no buildings out there. A great place to ride your bikes out there if it's a little bit cooler. Go out on the beach, just run around, and also, depending on the time of the year, like this time of the year, sea turtles, you can see a sea turtle hatching, and certainly in certain times of the year, you can see birds hatching. All right, well, thank you so much for tuning in this video. If you made it to the end, please do me a favor. If you gained any valuable insight, just hit that thumbs up. If you'd like to hear more from me, just hit that subscribe and notification button. And again, if you have any questions at all, whether you want to call, text, email, reach out, all my info is just below. And whether you're moving in 7 or 70 days, it would be my pleasure to speak with you and assist you. Thanks so much, and take care.